Pregame.com.
USC -3 at Cal. Thursday night, college football. Who do you like and why?
Well, RJ, we're going to go with the under in this one, and this is one of those ones where you're going to have to bet it and kind of close your eyes betting the under, because we're taking an under considering the last 2 weeks, Southern Cal gave up 43 and 41 points. Now, there's a reason why I like the under. This Southern Cal team, we know about them. They're on sanctions and stuff. They're not going to be able to go to postseason. You got to pick the spots for motivation, I think, on this team. And there's a few games that will be motivated. One, this one on Thursday Night Football, because they're on the national spotlight. It's the, TV, ESPN, everybody's going to see them. They're going to be pumped up, bring their A game. Obviously, they always play Notre Dame every year. That's a rivalry game, national spotlight. They'll be pumped for that. And, of course, when they play Stanford. So this is the first of the motivated games. Because their defense did give up so many points the last 2 weeks, and they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, I think you're going to see that defense, that's what they've worked on.
So I agree, and I think that this is I agree with one thing, which is when a team does poorly in a certain area, special teams, defense, offense, when they have a bye especially, there's a real focus on that. So I think that if you think about these kids and the coaching staff as human beings, you give up a lot of points, you've got 2 weeks, let's focus on what we're doing poorly. What I don't agree with is your talk about these spots, because I almost used the same words in the Arizona State USC game. And they were an underdog at Arizona State, big game, it was a night game if I recall, on TV, and I liked USC in that game. They ended up underperforming. I think it's hard to imagine that Arizona State game wasn't one of these marquee games. And I just think, or let's not call it a marquee game, let's call it a game that was going to have the full attention of this team who's on probation. So I think we got to be careful about reverse engineering our subjective perception or our subjective assessments to what fits us. Can you make the case that the Cal game is bigger in any tangible way than the Arizona State game?
The difference for me is, and I know what you're saying, it was on TV, it was either on Fox or ESPN, the late night Saturday night game that week. But that's on a Saturday amongst 60 other ball games, but it was a TV game at the end of the day. Everybody's going to be watching them today. They're the premier game, the only show on.
The question isn't a matter of degrees, though. The question is, are they motivated or aren't they motivated? Arizona State game, they would have been motivated, and it was their only road game this year in which they fell flat. Now
it was their only road game period, though, too.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Only road game this year. So we've seen a team that has had one road home is two different games. They've had one example of a road game, and it feels sort of analogous. They were a 3-point dog, now they're a 3-point favorite. So it was close to a pick-'em game. Right. It was a marquee game on TV. They underperformed. I'm not saying that you're wrong here. I especially, like I said, agree with the whole defensive emphasis. I'm just saying, is this team didn't respond in that spot? Are they going to respond here? I don't know.
Again, we'll see on Thursday, but another factor that's different from the Arizona, as I said, the first factor is this is the only game.
Arizona State.
Arizona State. The second factor is that was Arizona State. This is California. This is in-state. You got to talk about recruiting. You don't want to be showed up on TV against the people you're recruiting against.
Well, the game's a pick-'em. I don't think what are we? Let's really think about, maybe let's reverse the roles here. Let's not think about who's right about what we're debating. Let's define what we're debating. Are we debating, is Cal or is USC going to try hard? Is that what we're trying to figure out?
No, I'm saying that this will be one of the more focused games.
So they're going to try hard?
Absolutely.
And they tried hard against Arizona State?
Well, we don't know that. I mean, the way they played, it didn't look like they did.
But it's a scenario that if they didn't try hard there, they're not going to try hard here.
I would hope that they, with the 2 weeks to prepare and being embarrassed the way they were, that's going to be rectified.
All right, so other factors.
Other factors here, this is a situation. Cal's playing for the second week in a row on TV. They played last Thursday night against Oregon. Obviously a much bigger game for them. You know, Oregon's highly ranked. This is being at home as opposed to being on the road. So it is a big game for Cal. And as I just said earlier about being in-state, it is a game that Cal would like to win, because if you can knock off Southern Cal, who's been the top dog in this conference for several years up until the last 2 years, they definitely would love to do that.
And maybe this is something we need to dig deeper in a podcast or something, because one of the things you do as a handicapper is you have all this nuance about how hard these teams are trying. And the truth of the matter is, when you only have 12 games or 13 games or whatever it is, I think most of the games that they're not 2 or 3 touchdown favorites, these teams are trying. And I guess you and I fall on different sides of the equation when we talk about all this nuance. That, well, with Arizona State, it's not in, it's not in state. It's this, it's that. It's like the kid, you're either motivated or you're not. And I think there certainly are letdown spots. I don't think that national TV in a nearly pick-em game against an in-state rival is going to be a letdown spot for either team.
No.
So really what I hear you saying is, and sometimes handicapping is this simple, what I hear you saying is that that we got 2 motivated teams, and that leads to defense oftentimes. That's the thing people don't always get. More motivation usually leads to less scoring.
Right.
All right?
It takes more intensity to play defense than it does to play
So if
offense.
something is falling short, it's going to fall short on defense. I agree 100% on that. And number 2, you're saying USC has done so poorly that those who are doing, box score, or not even box score, but scoreboard type handicapping are going to say, geez, look how many points they've given up. Why won't they give up just as many today? Right. And it's that simple.
That's it. I've got Southern Cal 27-24, keeping us a touchdown under the total.
Okay. 2 reasons I like your pick in addition. One is Lane Kiffin's been in the press this week talking about running the ball. Barkley's doing fine at quarterback. He's talking a lot about running the ball. I think, in fact, they're talking about, and I'm not exactly sure because I'm not a USC homer, I don't follow it that closely, is it's either a guy that they may redshirt the shirt that's a wide receiver, they're going to maybe bring him in a tailback. I mean, they want to run the ball. And so it seems to me that anytime you're running the ball, it tends towards the under, so that's good. And number 2, I read an interesting stat from a friend of ours, Mika Roberts, who's a gaming writer here in town. And Mika said that because of such a great weekend that the players had last weekend, and we did some press on the top 9 teams in the AP poll all covered this week, and number 10 was Wisconsin was a bye. So all of the top 10 covered this week that played. Is that he expects action to be up about 15% because the players are so flush. All right? So if the players have more in their pocket, then the public money is going to have more of an influence. So I think in these standalone games, if you look towards the under, you look towards the dog, there might be an extra half point or point because they are flush right now. Now, if they get killed throughout the weekend, Sunday it might be different, but coming in this Thursday game, they're flush, ready to fire. I would wait as close to game time as possible.
Anytime that there's a TV game, unless it's a weather condition, you're betting an under. 90% of the time, you're not going to go wrong by waiting till game time to bet an under. That's just human nature.
All right, guys, your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section. And next up, we're going to be talking Friday night college football.